First series. Let's see who's going to make it through to the final August weekly as we hop into Lipany to decide this. Maybe we'll end up with a bunch of heavy cavalry spam down both sides. Maybe we'll end up with some ram rushes, as we've seen both of these civs capable of that in recent days. I'm just excited to see, like you already highlighted, Leenock and Vortix, both of them yet to make it to a weekly final. You definitely give the edge to Vortix slightly, though, because he's made it to monthly finals in the Red Bull Wololo.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, he was one game away from qualifying to the Heidelberg LAN. He ended up losing to Puppy Paw in a 4-3 fashion. He's also the person that is leading the unqualified players when it comes to weekly points. So you really get the feel that it's, to a certain extent, even a surprise that Vortix is not yet qualified for the event. Leenock, of course, getting his qualification from one of the previous tournaments, N4C if I can recall correctly, so he doesn't have to worry about this one. All he's playing for is the share of the $2,000 prize pool of this weekly event, and of course, the share of the $2,000 prize pool for every single weekly event. We still have 3 of those coming up for September.
Sounds like a lot of money. I think I might, maybe I should enter one of these weeks, see if I can, maybe get $50.
You only get money if you really perform well, you know that, right?
I mean, I used to be a programmer. Could I just, like, maybe shut down people's PCs remotely? Is that...
I feel like that might warrant some disqualifications.
Damn it. I don't see it in the rules.
Wait, is it not in the rules? Well, then you can do that, sure.
Yeah, like, if it's not in the rules, right? I mean, that's the way I live my life. If it's not in the rules, we can do it.
Do you want us to add it to the rules?
I mean... I feel like I just do this on purpose to force rule changes. Like, remember when we had Frisian marshes and the first day I was like, can't you just go and drop docks on people's marshes so they don't have fish anymore? Then instantly the next day I noticed there's a handbook update and we've banned that.
I mean, if we really want to be strict, we have to ban a lot of things. Like, you know, it's going to be a very long handbook which has to state, like, you're forbidden to pour ice cream into the opponent's computer. You're forgiven to unplug, or forbidden actually, to unplug his keyboard from his PC. It will make a very, very long handbook if we have to include all these details.
Dude, I would love, like, I love, like, the subsections, like the Puppy Paw Wham subsections. Like, you may not download multiple music videos so that you stall out the internet for your brother who's still trying to qualify for Wololo. All right, well, let's see what we're going to get here, though, because we have got one bro involved. Vortix, of course, still the one making deep runs. Feels like Luciferon's been looking a bit loose recently, but credit where credit is due. Like, Vortix is maybe not at what I'd say was his full power at Golden League. Actually, I don't even think it's that. I think it's the other way, Lida. I feel like a lot of players have upped their games since Golden League, and it's maybe why we haven't seen Vortix dominate the way people would have expected in these monthlies or in these weeklies.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's not the fact that he has deteriorated. It's more about the fact that, yeah, he upped his game. But so did all the competitors. And if you were, let's say, one step behind compared to some players, and everybody stepped one step ahead, you're still one step behind, right? So, like, that's the thing here. Even if you step up your game, if your opponents did so as well, then suddenly you will still not be able to catch up to them. That being said, Vortix had some really good performances. He has been very consistent in the weeklies, and as we said, it's a bit of a surprise that he's not yet in the monthly, or like not in the main event itself, failing to qualify from the monthlies, but worst case scenario for him is that even if he doesn't qualify from the monthlies, he for sure, as things stand, is going to qualify from the weekly points.
I feel like Vortix is really good at hiding a lot of his strategies as well, right? There's no doubt this guy's practicing a bunch, but I don't know about you, but whenever I try and find out who the hell he is, I don't know. Like, I know there's a bunch of Smurfs in the top 100, but I've never been able to identify ones as Vortix. There used to be signature giveaways for him and his brother. Like, Luciferon was a perfect example of this. When he played the French, he'd make an edge map TC when no one else would. So you could kind of go, yep, that Smurf belongs to him. But in the last month, I can't, like, I don't know who Vortix is anymore. Which is so refreshing. Because it's actually nice. Like, you and me, we watch so much Age of Empires. Isn't it nice when you get to come in and you're like, I don't know exactly what this player's going to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely refreshing that you're going to have some unpredictability instead of saying, oh yeah, I know this guy, I know his tendencies. It's nice to see some change-ups every once in a while.
Yeah, it's nice to just feel surprised, right? That's another thing I love about how frequently the meta starts to evolve, and also the way that a lot of new builds are coming in because of the big transition from Castle Age Imperial Priority into Feudal Castle Priority. Is that we're seeing a lot of new refreshing builds. It keeps the game fresh, it keeps unpredictable, and I think that's really important in a game like Age of Empires because Age of Empires is a game of transitions, it's a game of counters. Vision should be important, scouting should be important. It was kind of getting really boring in like the earlier points when you go, yeah, they're going to do this build. Yeah, they're definitely going to do this build, right? Remember the days when Roos got picked and it was like, yeah, he's going to build horse archers. Wow, how innovative.
Not just horse archers, but like the very same fast castle build every single time. How repetitive was that?
Yeah, like it's cool from a speed running perspective, like who can get the quickest castle age timing ever. Same with the HRE on release, but like in reality, it sucked because people just knew what you were going to do. So you lost a really big element of gameplay, which is the importance of scouting.
Indeed, and it's nice to see that returning out there as the players are exploring the meta more and more, but this to a certain extent was predictable as the game was released. It was fairly well expected that it's going to take like half a year to a year for the players to really figure out the meta, to really start deviating from the good old-fashioned build orders. Everybody wants to win, so they will always use the most optimized build order. In order for someone to deviate from it, it takes quite a lot of motivation, and players like Vortix, for example, have been one of the people that really actively try to deviate from the meta and try to explore new ways of playing specific civilizations or maps.
And I think it's the credit of having this frequent kind of weekly occurrence of Age of Empires competitively. You know, instead of it being $100,000 on the line for how you play on this weekend, it's like, yeah, here's a lump of money. Here's a lump of money. And it just allows people to be a little bit more loose, a bit more experimental, because everything isn't on the line if you screw up one time. And it means that experimentation can potentially be worth the risk-reward association.
And stealing ideas. We often underappreciate how important it is to watch the other people's games, and then even if something doesn't work for them, maybe you have an idea on how to change it up. And
this is a change up. This is an interesting change up because he got the double spear out. He's got the scouts as well, which are going to tank the shot. He needs to be careful of the villagers. Neglect coming out, but he's actually going to turn it into a peasant rebellion here. Spears being targeted down quickly, which might prove problematic for Lee if they can get them down fast enough. Heavy damage on the knights, however, very tanky now when they're mainly up against villagers. But with so many peasants here, it looks like Leenock will get the TC
and the new knight
up.
Comes in. He's not going to get it. He just delayed this.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness, pain.
The scouts are trying to body block, but Leenock, like we talked about this kind of risk association, different builds. This was a different build. He went for the spears. It looked good against two knights, but just the third as a refresher was too much, and Leenock lacked the food to push additional spears. Instead, has to fall back for the berries. He just got done dirty. Vortix with the one-up will now move out for his TC on the deer, and Leenock is in shambles.
What a play from Vortix, really the patience, the lack of greed has shown there so well. He could have gone for the villagers, he could have been bloodthirsty, say, okay, I'm gonna kill villagers here. No, he was patient. He just pulled away the spearmen, picked them off one by one, and all he did was delay the villagers from building that TC until the third knight arrives, the third knight to save the day, and that just denied that TC spot for Leenock, who's gonna be forced to settle with a rather underwhelming TC on the berries, while Vortix himself had his second TC up faster and at a much better position on the hunt. This was a big win here for Vortix, a massive advantage, such an early spot in the game.
I mean, it looked ugly for Leenock. I felt good when I just saw two knights. But that third one, like you saw the instant cancel. It was like, wait, one extra knight? Okay, we're done here. These units have 190 health. Those villagers are poking them for 1 damage each. Once the spearmen are gone, you're out. And I love the identification by Vortix. It's like, oh, hold on a sec. Wait. Let me just check my counter sheet. Spearman, does it counter knight? Only if there's 3 to the 1. All right, I'm good to hang around here. And I love the confidence he shoot there. Like, that's risky because of the investment. 240 resources each. You don't want to sacrifice them, and then your opponent still gets the ball. But he plays it clutch, man. Not only does he get the block on the TC, but he keeps all the knights fresh and alive.
And it was a delicate micro for him to have. Like, he has to be careful not to run into a spearman that's bracing. It seemed easy for us, but I can tell you, that was a very difficult micro for Vortix to pull off, and he did that to perfection. Takes a good fight, delays the TC until reinforcements arrive, and pushes Leenock into a very difficult spot now. Now, Leenock is very well alive, so it's not the end of the world for him, but obviously, suboptimal at best is his position.
I mean, no, he's dead. It's over. It's over. You failed the ball. You give up. Nah, I'm kidding. There's a way back in, yes, but like it requires mistakes now of Vortix. And the way that that fight came out, I actually feel like that was good micro from Vortix and a missed micro from Lee. You notice that he tried to surround the Knight, but he didn't fully surround him. So the Knight was able to shift out and go after the last Spearman. I think that's an important detail that really cost Leenock dearly. And that's why you're now seeing him double down on the ball. This ball was a critical element of gameplay. Nobody wants to build a second TC next to a berry line that is not playing a Basses or Deli. If you have to do that, you might as well GG out in the pub games, but Leenock has to fight tooth and nail for this. He will look to recover, and he will get that boar in the end.
He's gonna get the boar indeed. He's gonna have the hunting cabin and the tower nearby as well. But what's the price he has to pay for this one? It's gonna be still a somewhat exposed forward position. He had to also invest into a ton of spearmen, something that he didn't necessarily want to do initially. And let's keep in mind that behind this one, he's falling behind in villagers passively thanks to the French bonus. So he's gonna have the boar. The question is, what's the price he had to pay for it?
The series. Nah, I'm getting on this stuff now. But like, so one thing I actually want to highlight here, by the way, because you know me, I'm such a nice guy. I always let everything slide. How is it that the boar mini-map bug is still in the game after all these months?
It's a list of things to be done, you know. How can't we still access recorded games, at least at a reasonable fashion? Well,
I mean, that's like a back-end system that needs a full rebuild. Like, I just feel like the ball one is a big deal, especially considering the way it was complained about early on. It's almost just like... It's kind of like that situation in life, like, well, yeah, you no longer get any sort of dental support, like toothbrushes don't exist anymore. You're like, this is an outrage. And then a week later, like, well, I guess this is our existence now. Would you stop complaining about it? But it's crazy to think how often that will screw people over that want the ball play, but can't find the ball because it no longer shows on the map.
Oh, cavalry now coming in here. Numbers advantage heavily on the side of Vortix, and this fort might be short-lived here, although the Knights might just choose to run past it and hit the base of Leenock straight away. Leenock didn't really commit to much army. He only has 3 horsemen here to deal with the archers. Spearmen are there, but those by itself won't be sufficient.
Nah, you can see Vortix is escalating perfectly. He baited Leenock into an over-investment in the spears. 13. Make that 14. And the archers were already going to come. Like, that's the weird part. Leenock, his opening build made sense to guard for the TC extension. Nothing else about it makes sense, though. Like, the double down into Rax units with nothing else present is weird to me. Because you're playing as the Rus. And if there's one thing that you can outdo the French on, it's archers. You get 20% more wood courtesy of these wooden fortresses, yet he refuses to leverage it into archer ranges.
Yeah, and on the other hand, he is going to be strained on food. Like, he already depleted his berries. His only reliable source of food for the time being is gonna be the boar. He's just now expanding towards the hunt. And what is he making? Food-heavy units. Spearmen, horsemen. It could be very easy for Vortix to deny food from him and then completely cripple his ability to make any military units, really.
Yeah, it kind of has that feeling that like Leenock has been clutching since the TC failed, if that makes sense, right? Where he's been looking for the answer. Because I think that did set him back a lot. And now this mass ball of spearmen is really going to cost him dearly. Like, Leenock, if you can buy 5 or 6 minutes and get this ball for free, great. But Vortix isn't going to allow that. The ram pressure is coming out. Horsemen stacking up to move in. Archers are starting stepping back for the trade-outs. Whoopsie-daisy won the Knights. But overall, a good position for Vortix. Sure, you're going to sacrifice the ram, but look how many spearmen are dying. It's only 250 wood for a ram. Equals 3 spears in terms of cost. And Vortix definitely got that value in the trade.
He definitely got that. He killed like 7 or 8 spearmen, and keep in mind that with the spearmen numbers being depleted, the Knights will become more and more relevant, not just for taking this direct engagement, but also for raiding. So the value was still there for Vortix, plus he also idled the villagers on the boar, so some level of eco damage was also done.
And we're tripling down the spears, right? You saw that correctly. That's 3 racks now, producing a unit that is counted outright. And the issue he has here is like the horseman, he can't reach a number that can fully engage. He needs the board to get critical mass of horsemen. And he's just not getting it. Like, this is pristine identification by Vortix. Another Knight does get pinched, but archers now start stepping back again. Horseman forced to commit. No choice for Leenock anymore. But you can see that hesitation coming out. Horseman count is just not high enough. Knight Clash is going to come in. Limited spearmen remaining. Limited Knights as well, but the archers are what matter here. Still 18 in the field for Vortix, and a full retreat from Leenock as the spearman line is reduced to 0.
Such a good micro out there by Vortix, being able to keep the Knights just enough around to deter the Horsemen from charging in, but at the same time not getting them killed by the Spearmen, once again pulling them back just before the brace comes in. And same thing, the battering ram might fall, but what's the price that Leenock is paying for that? So many of the Spearmen getting picked apart, he's down to 4 of them now.
Yeah. And I will say Vortix lost more Knights that time, but he can afford it because of the way that his eco is scaling in unison with what Leenock's doing. So overall, the trades are still favorable for him. Like, I mean, the kill count at the end of this game is going to be heavily in favor of Vortix at this rate if it ends quickly. The issue for Leenock, like I said, if he wants to catch up the Horseman count, the boar is critical. You can see he's gone up to 13 Horsemen now. The Knight count is quickly escalating for Vortix, though. Much quicker than before. Already refreshed back up to 8. And remember, we're talking about a 2-for-1 exchange situation at least, Knights versus Horsemen, usually. Ooh. But these are French Knights that get bonus damage for 5 seconds at the beginning of a fight that will allow them to overwhelm. And that's what they're looking to do now. One Horseman gets pinched. Ram can't be wrapped around on engagement coming out. It's going to force the Knights to try and guard against this. Archers just stabbing down as many Spearmen as possible as the Horsemen try to wrap around. But the Knights are reigning supreme here. That's the detail that matters. Heavy hit into the Archers, but look at the overall numbers. Vortix barely sees a dent, still up at 16 Archers, and he chipped away at 5 or 6 of those Horsemen pretty much for free.
It's premium units versus lower tier units. That's the key over here. Spearman once again making an appearance though. Knights, oh, this could be good.
Where are they going?
This could be really good for Leenock.
I don't think it can. He got body blocked. Vortix with the quick momentum to the other side. Knights get in the way. The clash continues, and once again, the Ram chipping away the wooden fortress, while the Knights are the difference maker here. Horseman count is still good for Leenock, but he's definitely exchanging a lot more resources in these fights.
Yeah, it's a costly fight for him. He's desperately trying to get rid of the archers, slowly grinding down the archer numbers for Vortix, allowing the spearmen to really engage well. But what's the price he's paying? So many archers.
Chalked. It's chalked, Lidakor. Like, he doesn't have the numbers anymore. It's still 7 Knights, no Horsemen, 4 Spearmen, and 5 villagers running for their life. Leenock has fully lost control of this game now.
Oh man, it hurts so much. As you said, suboptimal trades were taken, and it really pays it all now on Leenock's army. He's just out of juice here. You see, he's forced to go on the berries, so sustainability is already a problem. As you said, he had to take bad fight after bad fight to try and grind down the archer numbers of Vortix, and he did so, but he lost everything he had in the process.
This could be the one saving grace for Lee. You notice that Vortix is switching to farms. This is going to delay his military escalation. However, it's still incredibly difficult for Leenock. Just look at the production rates on each side. They were double for Vortix, and now they're neck and neck, which means that Vortix is going to maintain a double up in the military count.
And he's also doing something else. Not only is he destroying the 4 production buildings, he's working towards Castle Age here. Castle Age, we talked about this one, could be a danger, but in the position that Vortix in could also be a massive power spike for him. He's up by 11 eco, and this might be his moment to get to Castle, possibly with the Royal Institute, and get himself an even bigger advantage in the military department.
No, I think this is how you GG Leenock out. I actually think like Vortix has done this perfectly. Remember what I asked for at the start of this game? You need to look for Castle, but you need to look for Castle off the good back of good trades. He got phenomenal trades in this situation. Yep. Just look at that healthy Knight count and look at the reaction out of Leenock. Leenock is in desperation mode. He's resorting to early Knights. You never want to do this against the French because their French Knights are superior. If you charge in on each other, they get a 5-second damage buff after they hit you with the Lancers. You cannot compete, and you're about to be even further behind. That tech up is underway. Leenock might suspect it, but he has no way of doing anything about it. Once again is amassing spears, yet Vortix still holding the counter in the archers.
And look at Leenock, he's got 1 horseman, so the archers will just evaporate everything that Leenock has. It's not even as good as it was before, if you can call that good even. Right now, Leenock's army is essentially full spearmen up against an army of knights and archers. That's not gonna crack it.
Speaking of good, speaking of getting ready to crack him, Vortix did go up the Royal Institute. This guy is playing to win. This is what I want to see. So many times, people like Guildhall, oh, it's amazing. No, Guildhall often loses you games. When you net an advantage, why would you settle for allowing your opponent to come back? Vortix is in such a dominant position that with the Royal Institute, with the upgrades he can get access to, specifically the Royal Bloodlines, in the next 3 minutes, he can be diving in and GGing Leenock out of this game. Why would you risk another 20 minutes and allow the Roost to potentially recover in a Castle Imperial Age type game?
Exactly, he's playing to win, not playing to stay. it's a little risky. We talk about this a lot. If you overcommit to engagements and then you can't win the game drags out, could be a disaster, but this is not one of those games. Vortix is in firm command of this game, though being rated a tiny bit, but he has the chance to finish the game. He has the chance to put the dot on top of the I, and that is exactly what he's gonna go for. He isn't even having royal bloodlines when charging in, but even without that, this army should be more than enough to deal with Leenock.
Not just putting the dot on the eye. It feels like he's scratching Leenock in the eyes right now. I mean, look, I want to scratch my eyes out. Looking at these comp comparisons doesn't feel good for Lee. He's overburdened into spears. He has no choice here. The Archibald on 19 is going to count him out, especially with the veterancy. Yeah, you heard me correctly. 32 spears.
What for? There are archers on the field, my man.
I guess he's like been watching a lot of, I don't know, kind of Greek type This Is Sparta moments. So, like, spears look pretty good for them. I mean, 300 were able to hold because of no, I don't know what he's thinking right now. I think he's thinking I'm screwed and this is my only option. Just dead weight him in the game.
I mean, he's gonna try to flood with spears, but that's gonna be horribly suboptimal. Loses one landmark over here. He's gonna have to fight now or never because DC is the only one left.
Knights baiting him towards it. Archer's ready to start trading out. It is a lot of spears, though.
That's a lot of spears.
Biggest
Okay, here we go.
Age of Empires over here. Villagers get pulled to push the Rams away. But this trade sucks so much for Leenock.
But it's buying him time for castle. That's the ridiculous thing in this. He's buying himself time with this.
He has so much food right now.
He's actually taking a good engagement here. He's damaging those knights and buying time. This is as good as it gets for him. It might be insufficient.
Yeah, I don't think he's bought enough. Look at the knight count. It's almost 20 royal knights, and this spearman count is about to go lower than the knight count. Leenock, it's a cool idea, but you haven't even started the tech up yet.
Oh, it's just not going up, but it's too little too late. The army disappeared from the field, and once again, Vortix is gonna turn on cruise control. Might even deny the age up at this pace, because as you said, the next wave of knights are coming in.
Okay,
felt like desperation.
Won't deny it, Lidakor. There's one good thing about this. Leenock was never going to deny his tech up. Look where he placed it. It's in the top corner, nowhere near his base, because he was so paranoid about getting landmark sniped. He snuck it all the way back here.
As if landmark snipe was the biggest danger to him. He taps out. He knows he can't stop this one. Vortix takes the set in a convincing fashion off the back of that denied TC right at the beginning. From that point on, you could feel the confidence being on his side.
I mean, this is one of those moments where I would have loved to have seen the chat if we had a few pro players in when that TC got denied. Because like sometimes like players in these situations, they say it's GG. And what they mean is like if the other player doesn't make a mistake, it's GG. But it really felt like even if 2 mistakes came out from Vortix,